Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. I have a couple of KPMG news stories today. The first one is regarding some pretty bad news out of the UK with regards to Carillion and Regenesis audits. Now, Carillion is the client you remember that KPMG had a lot of issues with, and they went out of business, and 3,000 people lost their jobs, and there's just a whole lot of things that went wrong after that. And everybody blamed KPMG, and this is the bad client that never goes away. Well, apparently there's more issues that came out of this with regards to the Financial Reporting Council in the UK. They've filed a complaint against KPMG and several of their current and former employees for providing false and misleading information related to its audits of the outsourcing firms in Carillion. And the investigation from the FRC first opened in November 2018 after KPMG self-reported concerns. And then after that, the FRC opened an investigation into Regenesis as well. And so the FRC has been investigating KPMG for a while. There's always news that comes out of this audit, and there's more people that seem to sue them. And Carillion's liquidator pursued a legal claim of up to £250 million, blaming KPMG for wrongdoing and not doing a good job of the audit. But this is pretty big news that KPMG provided misleading information, and it was provided to the engagement partner, Peter Meehan, but it doesn't say that Meehan was responsible for the actual misleading information. But in my mind, if he's been the partner the whole time, I don't know how he couldn't be, because this thing is such a big risk at this point. You should be making sure that everything provided is in good standing, because if the people that were responsible for not looking at these accounts, the accounts on Carillion, are also responsible for responding, then I think they're going to have a natural tendency to want to cover their tracks and want to make themselves not look so bad. So, and this happens a lot in the Big Four accounting firms, whether people want to admit it or not. When you get reviewed by internally for an internal review of your audits, or even externally, you want to make sure that you look good. And what a lot of people do is they add stuff to the file, and that's against ethical things and stuff. But a lot of people try and do that, and whether they do it directly or indirectly or whatever, and you aren't allowed to do that. But some people do that, and I think that the partner on this should have been looking into this more. I don't know whether he did or not, whether he's the same partner. When they started responding to this, it's probably changed over time. But this is a pretty big, huge allegation, and it doesn't seem like any good news is coming out of this. And it just goes to show that the Big Four accounting firms have to be more careful around their audits, and seemingly small clients or clients that don't seem to matter to them can end up blowing up to this huge, years-long and even decades-long investigations that don't go away, and it just changes the nature of their business and the audit industry and accounting in general. For example, like this case, along with some other EY cases, are just changing the way things are done in Europe for audits. So I think it's pretty crazy what's going on with this one, and this is some pretty bad news, because this is actually trying to lie to a regulator, and it's similar to what KPMG did in the US, where they were trying to anticipate the PCAOB coming in and doing an inspection and then giving everybody a heads up. So there's obviously some ethical issues across KPMG, but I think it's Big Four in general, but KPMG just seems to get caught up in it more and more. This episode is brought to you by Boomer. Boomer helps you ace the interview at the Big Four accounting firms, and it does this by helping you practice on questions typically asked on the Big Four interview. And if you use the link or promo code And if you use the link, which goes to tryboomer.com/big4, or the promo code BIG4, then listeners get 10% off their purchase. So go ahead and check out their website, tryboomer.com, and see if you like all the tools they have that can help you prep for your Big Four interview, and you do choose to purchase it. Make sure to use the link in the show notes, because with that link, you're going to get 10% off, or make sure to use our promo code. All the details are in the show notes. The next story is regarding KPMG in Canada. KPMG has decided to implement a new vaccine policy of mandating that everybody that comes back to the office is going to have to be vaccinated. And KPMG said that they started working remote in March 2020. And they're taking a measured and phased approach to returning to their offices across Canada. And if I remember correctly, KPMG Canada was one of the first Big Four to start laying people off, but now they're one of the first to start mandating vaccines. I know Deloitte has already done that, or at least Deloitte has done that in the United States. And as I said, I think it depends on the Big Four and the office. It's not going to be across the board, just because that's not the way the Big Four accounting firms work. It's going to be up to the individual regions and the partners on the engagements, and on the teams and the regions. That's going to be determining how they're going to do that. So it's going to be country by country, I believe. And the reason KPMG says they're going to do this is, they say they're prioritizing people's health and safety, but they also did this by survey. They surveyed their 8,000 employees in Canada, and they found that 92% of respondents indicated that they are vaccinated, and 77% said they would be more comfortable if a vaccine policy was put in place. So theoretically here, they surveyed everybody. Who knows if they actually did, and what the responses actually were and how many people responded. But based on this, they're going to implement a vaccine mandate. And this also applies to people that are going to client sites. So that's what they're going to do here. But it's not clear if people get an option of working from home or not. And I think it's similar to what Mark Weinberger, who's the former EY CEO, said, that it's up to the office. It's going to be really hard for people. And this makes sense to me from the Big Four perspective of taking surveys. They're not really good at making decisions like this. And so I think a lot of other Big Four firms might follow suit, but we'll have to see. It seems like Deloitte just went on their own and is probably going to do that globally, but we'll have to wait to see. But those are the news stories for today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast to get future updates, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Big Four Accounting Firms. Thanks for listening.